Hello and welcome to you all. This is Bhageshri Zoshiraf. Today onwards, I'm going to start Abhivachan series in collaboration with Atlantic Films. So, what is Abhivachan? Abhi means towards and Vachan is reading. So, basically, reading any content in such a way that it reaches towards you. So, we can call it dramatical reading or theatrical reading in simple way. I would be presenting these readings on every Friday, and these will include some poems, some parts of stories, some parts of books, or some short stories or monologues, etc. And what's the purpose behind it? It's quite simple that we wish to help you out find good literature, various forms of literature. We wish to take you to the journey of various subjects, and we wish to give you a wonderful ride of various emotions and expressions. Also, Atlantic Films wishes to give you a wide platform, for all the artists all over the globe to learn, to explore, or to grow with a very classic content, with classic work, and also to participate in the river of art and reach to the ocean of audience's heart. Well, so let's start with our first story today. For today and for next few episodes, I'm going to read a wonderful author, Ruskin Bond's stories. Yes, Ruskin Bond is one of my favorite authors, and he writes it so simple. Uh, in very few words, he makes you imagine the place, people, things in just few words, and that's really amazing about him. So let's begin with his first story. The story's name is Grandpa Tickles a Tiger. Timothy, the tiger cub, was discovered by grandfather on a hunting expedition in the Terai jungle near Dehra. Grandfather was no shikari, but as he knew the forest of the Sivalik hills better than most people, he was persuaded to accompany the party. It consisted of several very important persons from Delhi to advise on the terrain and the direction the beaters should take once a tiger had been spotted. The camp itself was sumptuous. 7 large tents, one for each shikari, a dining tent, and a number of servants' tents. The dinner was very good, as grandfather admitted afterwards. It was not often that one saw hot water, plates, finger balls, and 7 or 8 courses in a tent in the jungle. But that was how things were done in the days of viceroys. There were also some 15 elephants, 4 of them with howdahs for the shikaris, and the other especially trained for taking part in the beat. Well, the sportsmen never saw a tiger, nor did they shoot anything else, though they saw a number of deer, peacock, and wild boar. They were giving up all the hope on finding a tiger and were beginning to shoot at jackals. That's when my grandfather, strolling down the forest path at some distance from the rest of the party, discovered a little tiger about 18 inches long, hiding among the intricate roots of a banyan tree. Grandfather picked him up and brought him home after the camp had broken up. He had the distinction of being the only member of the party to have bagged any game, dead or alive. At first, the tiger cub, who was named Timothy by my grandmother, was brought up entirely on milk given to him in a feeding bottle by our cook Muhammad. But the milk proved too rich for him, and he was put on a diet of raw mutton and cod liver oil, to be followed later by a more tempting diet of pigeons and rabbits. Timothy was provided with 2 companions, Toto, the monkey, who was bold enough to pull the young tiger by the tail and then climb up the curtains if Timothy lost his temper, and a small mongrel puppy, found on the road by my grandfather. At first, Timothy appeared to be quite afraid of the puppy and darted back with a spring if it came too near. He would make absurd dashes at it with his large forepaws and then retreat to a ridiculously safe distance. But finally, he allowed the puppy to crawl on his back and rest there. One of Timothy's favorite amusements was to stalk anyone who would play with him. And so, When I came to live with grandfather, I became one of the tiger's favorites. With a crafty look in his glittering eyes and his body crouching, he would creep closer and closer to me, suddenly making a dash for my feet, rolling over on his back and kicking with delight, and pretending to bite my ankles. He was by this time the size of a full grown retriever, and when I took him out for walks, people on the road would give us a wide berth. When he pulled hard on this chain, I had difficulty in keeping up with him. His favorite place in our house was the drawing room, and he would make himself comfortable on the long sofa, reclining there with great dignity and snarling at anybody who tried to get him off. Timothy had clean habits and would scrub his face with his paws exactly like a cat. He slept at night in the cook's quarters and was always delighted at being let out by him in the morning. One of these days, declared grandmother in her prophetic manner, we are going to find Timothy sitting on Muhammad's bed and no sign of the cook except his clothes and shoes. Of course, it never came to that. But then, Timothy was about 6 months old when a change came over him. He grew steadily less friendly. When out for a walk with me, he would try to steal away to stalk a rat or someone's pet Pekingese. Sometimes at night, we would hear frenzied cackling from the poultry house, and in the morning, there would be feathers lying all over the veranda. Timothy had to be chained up more often. And finally, when he began to stalk Muhammad about the house with what looked like villainous intent, grandfather decided it was time to transfer him to a zoo. So, what exactly happened to Timothy after that? Did Timothy go to the zoo? What not happened with him? To find out that, you have to read the story, you have to experience the words of Ruskin Bond. And for such more interesting stories, you have to see the next part too. So, till then, bye-bye.